last name ever, first name greatest. Like a sprained ankle, boy, ain't nothing to play with. Started off local, but thanks to all the haters, I know G4 pilots on a.
Well, we're here with episode 2. We already did one. How do you feel about it? Do you remember anything we talked about? I don't.
I know you don't. But yeah, I do.
You do?
Yeah, it was a lot of
all right, well,
our story and how...
Oh, well, yeah, I remember that, but I don't remember what I said.
You don't really have to remember verbatim, do you?
No, but you do at least, so just stop me if I start talking about this. If I repeat myself a lot.
I'll catch you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'll catch you.
So how was your week?
It's been great, actually. It's been extremely sleep deprived.
I think you move your microphone closer.
Okay, probably. You're probably right.
Yeah.
And push yours away, Matt.
Push it away?
A little bit.
Really?
No, away from your face.
It's in my face.
Well,
there you go.
Don't edit this out. I want it to just be raw.
It adds color.
Yeah, raw.
Yeah.
Raw, like Nick's shirt.
That's right. Yep. But,
raw and real.
Yeah.
Uncensored. I'm sorry. Okay, go.
It's okay. The week has been really good. It's been very sleep deprived, though.
Okay, let's preface for our... You had a gathering.
Yes.
Of your team. Team GLOFF.
Yeah, this week was the second Team GLOFF trip, which we were calling the Team GLOFF Trip 1.5, because we're going to keep it in a number scheme where the one in the spring, to mark the first one that happened last year, is going to be 1 and 2 and so on throughout the years.
So the spring one is the solid number.
Is the solid number, and everyone in between is going to be the 0.5.
Oh. I like it.
Yeah. So we've got a good handful of guys that are in town right now, and obviously you met.
I love them.
You met them all.
I love them.
Yeah.
Vadim.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah. Fantastic team of guys, and I'm going to continue to do that every 6 months-ish, hopefully, from now until forever.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's been really good because I've been able to spend a lot of time with them.
Was there any here that you met for the first time, or you've already met all these guys?
I've met everyone that was here for the first time in person last year. And so I've already met everyone except for Evan Holmes.
Evan.
Yeah. Yep. First time I was able to meet Evan Holmes in person. And so he was a new guy. And actually, he wasn't even supposed to be here for the trip.
Yes.
He was showing up, because he was going to be down here for a couple of other friends.
His roommates know somebody. Mm-hmm. They're in Miramar, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they're somewhat close by, just a couple hours away.
Which they told me a crazy story. They tell you the story about how someone that lives in their apartment building almost got killed, and they heard the noises. They heard them getting the shit beat out of them, and then they saw, like, crime scene investigation there.
No.
I sat by them at sushi, asked them about it. Yeah, the person lived, luckily, thank God, but the boyfriend beat up the girlfriend or the wife or whatever and almost killed her. And
good God,
gosh dang it, I can't think of Evan's friend's name that he's here with. I'm so sorry.
I know, I'm sorry too. I can't remember
but
either. I'm the worst with names though.
Yeah, well, it's because you know when you meet someone and they tell you their name, you're just like looking at them and you don't even hear what they say for their name.
Well, I'm always focused on like the story.
Yeah.
It's like somebody actually tells me like who they are. So I'll remember things about the person, but I'm like, who what was their name?
Yeah. So Evan's friend, I'm sorry I don't remember her name, but he told me the story and he heard just loud booms and noises and stuff, and that was her getting the shit beat out of her. And they felt horrible because they didn't go stop it. And I'm like, well, you don't know what that is, and they didn't even know where exactly it was coming from.
No, and in those situations, you can't know what you could even do.
Right. What are you going to do? Just knock on the door and be like, "Hey, what's going on in there?"
I mean, if
shot in the face,
just absolutely fearless, and you want to go at it, go for it. But you're rolling the dice.
I guess I probably would, though. You would too.
Yeah, but you got to know what you're getting into. So depending on the situation, the severity,
I'd go with my gun.
Yeah, you have to go with something.
Yeah,
because if you're not prepared for that, that's not
So anyway,
but either way, we
keep
don't need. Yeah, we don't need to go off the rails too quick here. But yeah, it's been back to the point. A bit of a sleep deprived week, which isn't crazy unusual for me, but it's
pretty typical.
Yeah, it's fairly typical for me. But just being able to be around everybody and spend all that time is I already spend so much time, just personal time with my clients anyway. Just my communication with all of them is like that.
Yes.
But being able to see them all in person, and honestly, like with the first trip that we did, the thing and honestly, I'm at a loss for words with it to a degree, because the first trip that we did a video with Clinton, that's here again doing the filming.
Yeah.
Clinton Goss.
What a sweetheart.
The man behind the camera, the nicest
What
man
a
you'll ever
sweetheart.
meet.
I want to hug him and just hold him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Everyone that meets him feels that way.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. And he'll never take the credit for it. He'll always defer it, of course.
No.
But when we took the final video, when everything closed up, one of the last statements that was made was not by me. It was by the guys on the team, and it was a unanimous agreement. It's like somebody spoke up and just said it. It's like, I've never been in a house filled with people that just clicked so immediately and deeply that everyone coexisted with complete harmony. Like completely. Like everyone was on the same page, thinking in the same wavelength, like finishing each other's sentences type thing.
Everyone's aligned.
Yeah. It's like family immediately.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like that.
You started that, man.
I know.
That's so cool.
And that's why I'm at a loss for words for it, because it's like, it's not something that I had really, you don't set out really thinking that that's going to happen.
Never.
But
I never set out to do this to make money. It didn't even cross my mind. Like this was you're way younger than me. So I think you knew this was a career path.
Yes.
Maybe we should talk about that. So like I started in 2009. Tavish!
Yeah.
I need some water! Tavish was my second client ever. The first client was a guy named Monty Kaufman, 2009, and he sent me an email and he asked me if I'd help him coach, to prepare him for a bodybuilding show. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. He paid me money to do it. And I was like, holy shit.
yeah.
Like, this guy's paying me money to help him for a bodybuilding show, to tell him what to do. And then he knew Tavish because they lived in the same city.
Okay.
And then Tavish emailed me, and then his name is Tavish Steele, and I get this email, and I read it, and he's like, hey, can you help me for a bodybuilding show? And I'm like, yeah. And then he sends me pictures, and I look at him, and you know what Tavish looks like now, and I said, oh my God, you're white. I thought he was going to be I don't know why. I thought I just stereotyped him, and I'm like, Tavish Steele, that's a very badass name, and then I'm like, oh my God, you're a white guy.
Super cool names.
Super cool name. I'm like, this guy's definitely black.
We're just start the podcast with that. Fantastic.
What? And then I still have him to this day, and he became my best friend in the world. But I don't. Sorry, I sidetracked you.
Yeah, it's okay. We're kind of in the same vein anyway. So with the week being a Team GLOFF trip, it's like being able to be around all of them. Like I've put a stop to a lot of the things that I was doing, like the big projects and taking care of, going over the top with everything in my own life, just so I can put aside some time.
Thank you.
To be around all of them as much as I could, and it's been great. It's just been like a weight off the shoulders, just to be able to spend time with all these guys, because the first time already was like that, and I've been looking forward to it ever since.
Yeah.
So I'm just happy that it was actually something I was talking to you before we started recording, that I didn't even start the planning for the first one.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Vadim
did.
Vadim
did. Vadim
was just like, hey, it'd be really cool if well, for those that don't know, you do you have a group chat with all of your people.
Yes.
Which I'm going to start doing. So if any of my clients watch this, make sure I get this done. I just haven't got it done. I want to start doing that, a group chat with everybody, and then you do a weekly call on Saturdays.
Yep. So every single one of my active clients that wants to be in it are in a unified group chat, so that they can all communicate one-to-one with each other. They can make friends. They can ask questions to each other, send in memes or poke fun at one another, do whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
Or just put in some questions that they would like to have answered that they don't want to ask me for, which I try to get them not to do.
Who's your moderator? Vadim?
I mean, honestly, like, kind of the group of guys that are here, like the whole group of them.
All of them?
Kind of, because the group of them is like the longest standing clients that I have, for the most part. There's a couple of them that just can't be here that I've had for a really long time, like Pete Stark, my my Austrian guy that's going to be in the Worlds in a couple weeks.
Yes.
So he's been around for a really long time. So he's just one of those guys that has been here that isn't really part of it because, travel, kind of tough to get all the way over here. But aside from him, like pretty much all of those guys that are here right now are the moderators for that chat.
Yeah.
It's like I trust them implicitly. They know how to handle themselves, and they do take a lot on their shoulders just to make sure that it's a good community. Like we're not letting anyone badmouth each other. Like everyone is just peaceful, coexist, do the bodybuilding thing, and express some interest in other things that maybe someone else is going to bite on, maybe not, and it just is what it is. So it's just a really organic thing.
Yeah.
It almost is like a secondary Instagram, almost like it's another feed of social media for them because they're just popping stuff in there all the time and just going back and forth. It's just an organic thing.
Do you see it all or no?
Oh yeah, I see it all.
You do. You review. You see all of it.
Mm-hmm. I have to keep watch over it.
Yeah,
Those things are gonna get wild at some point.
Yeah,
because even those guys, when they start, because they'll moderate.
Have you had to break up a fight?
Mm-hmm.
Have you?
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's been a couple, and then most of those go over just fine because I'll just be like, hey, play nice. Dad is speaking. So I'll take care of it when I have to, but as long as I keep tabs on it, like most of the guys just take care of it themselves. It can get a little bit extra sometimes, not in like a nasty or aggressive way, but if some of the longer standing guys that would be my moderators decide to just send it, for lack of a better term, they'll just send it in the chat with something ridiculous, and then they'll go back at each other. And it's not aggressive. It's just them going off the rails with something. And then I'll have to be like, hey, guys, like probably not the place for this. Yeah. But anyway, so we have that chat so everybody gets the opportunity to talk to one another and make friends. And it built probably the strongest friend group of people I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's super cool, man.
Yeah, and they're here.
Yeah.
And so it's and honestly, they're friends of mine. They're not just my clients. Like they're friends. Yeah. And that also wasn't necessarily something that I planned on doing as a coach. Like I wanted to build personal connections, but it wasn't like I'm trying to be best friends with all of my
you don't
people.
plan on that.
Mm-mm.
And that's something that maybe we can talk about for a minute and that's not something I planned on either, but some of my best friends that I have in my life right now started as clients, Tavish being one.
Mm-hmm.
He's my best friend in the world. He started off as my client. Mm-hmm. Jackson Wheat started off as my client, one of my best friends. Gerald Williams, a client. Well, he was a friend first and then a client, one of my best friends. Like, it just kind of happens. You don't mean to, but it just kind of happens. It's kind of a weird thing.
Mm-hmm. And so that group of guys, they're really good friends to me. And I knew a couple of them before coaching them too. So there's a little bit of both in there. There's some guys that I knew like from college that are in there that I've had for a really long time, like Brady and Travis. Like I've known them for years. They were friends first, and then Austin was a friend first, but a little bit more loosely. And this is a story I didn't actually get to finish when we were talking about it before we even started
recording. The podcast before the podcast.
Yeah, the podcast before the podcast, the pregame.
Yeah.
Austin was a guy that I met while I was in college because I was doing an internship at an orthopedic clinic that was also a PT clinic in Sports Performance Center. And so he had just messed himself up royally in an accident. And he was rehabbing his legs.
What do you do to his legs?
He just got jumbled up in a wreck.
Oh, so that's why his legs are behind his upper body.
Not so much now.
Oh.
No, because he functions just fine in training. It's just that he needs more time. Yeah. It's just he needs more time, and he's quite gifted with his upper body in some specific ways. Like his arms need to come up and stuff, but his delts are really good, and his back is really good.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's funny because you see people in clothes and big shirts. I have no idea.
I
can tell he's lean.
Mm-hmm.
He seems like he's pretty lean for just walking around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, like I was telling you, he's been pretty handicapped in recent times.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know. You would have no idea.
Isn't that funny when people send you check-ins? They're like, it was a horrible week, blah, 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 blah.
You look great.
You look great. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Couldn't tell it was a horrible week. Look fantastic, because I usually write my response before I even read what they write.
Yeah.
If you can tell in like the pictures, if you can see an improvement, I'm like, oh, you improved. And then I read what they wrote, and it was like a shitty week, and I'm like,
ooh.
oh well, can't tell.
Yeah. I do the same thing. I'll look at the pictures and I'll be like, oh, all right, sweet. And I'll start typing that, and then I'll usually before I send it, I'll see something as I'm typing.
Oh, and then you catch yourself.
I'm like,
I know. I just send it.
Yeah, I still send it, but usually I just modify a little bit. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, interesting. Good for you to know.
Yeah.
I didn't see any of these negative effects that you think you're seeing.
They think that we can see it though.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
I'm like so much flatter. I probably look a little fatter too. It's like, no, you look better than you did. It's not a problem. Like you're good. Like just chill.
Yeah. Do you have people send pictures every week in the off season?
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
I started doing every other week.
Yeah, I've thought about that.
It depends on the person, I guess. Some people do every other week. Some people don't.
Yeah, I've thought about it, but I
just do it every week.
I just do it every week because it's habit.
Yeah,
like habit.
And
it's just better.
When I think about it, it's like almost the importance of that is it forces them to take pictures and look at themselves every week. Which is almost just important because then you're forcing them to play a game with themselves.
Yeah, I guess depending on the client, though, that would be helpful or hurtful.
That's true, because some of them are hyper, like, in the off season, especially if body fat levels aren't that low. I mean, could be people connect their feelings to how they're looking too much.
Yep.
And just because they were off a little bit and weren't perfect, they're like, oh, I fucked everything up. And really, that's not true.
Yep. And also for me, the reason why I'm like, to that one is that probably like self-selected, the clients that you would typically get are going to be a little bit less attached. But I tend to attract like more like very super detail oriented, very like neurotic type people. Like seriously, like as like Big Four personality trait analysis, they are like further into neurotic type.
Yeah.
And so they just have that as a part of them no matter what you're going to do with them. Like it's going to be there. And so having them, I often tell them just like take your pictures, don't even look at them. Send them to me, don't even look. It's like if they're going to be the type that are going to be like really happy with what's going on, it's like
take a look.
Yeah, have fun. Look, it's great. But just overall, most of the time, be like, no, just take your pictures, send them to me, let me be the eye. Don't be the eye for yourself, because you're going to see things in there that aren't there, and it's going to complicate things because you're going to start like doubting the process, and just things are going to get weird. That's both in off season and dieting, because people are going to have expectations that don't match reality in the pace that it's supposed to happen, and then with misconceptions of how they feel relative to how they look. It's like somebody dieting, they're like, oh, I feel really flat. It's like, you don't look flat.
Yeah.
And it's not a problem, but then that might inform their decision making and be like, I don't know if this process is going right for me, and maybe I should have a little bit more food. And like, which in some cases, if you're like really getting like doused and you're done and you're cooked, like sure, fair. But in most cases, it's just a mental thing.
Yep.
It's just, and you start like building that, because all it takes is one brick layer, and then it's every time you relook at them, and those same types that are going to have that like mismatch of what they're feeling like and what's really happening. You have that one brick layer go down of that mismatched expectation. Like they take a set of pictures while they feel like they're flat and depleted, but they're really not. They'll set the baseline for what they think they look like then, and then it doesn't really matter what those next pictures look like. They'll start searching for it, and then they'll obsess, and then before you know it, they're like spending an hour and a half after no, seriously, I've been told this, like they'll sit there and just look at their photos over and over and over again and start like way over analyzing, and then it just messes things up, because then they're like super crazy neurotic about the changes, and then I don't know, you make a change to the diet plan, you bring something down because you have to, and then it's just like the world explodes. It's like, like stop it. It could all be avoided if you just don't take it personal what you look like on that day. Let it be.
Yeah. Well, you don't coach any women, but women are especially
very small number.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't. I'll just interject. I don't coach women that are going to be using PEDs.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So women are especially sensitive if you, let's say, push them harder or pull food out or bump up cardio, then they're like, oh my God, I'm fat. So I've gotten very good at like prefacing like, hey, I love how everything's going here, unless that's not true. You know, I never say anything that's not true. But if it is true, you have to make sure to say, I love how everything's going here. It's just time to step on the gas a little more. Here we go. Otherwise, they think that, oh God, he thinks I'm fat. And then they go down that rabbit hole of sabotaging themselves and everything. What were we talking about? your meeting?
Yeah, we were pretty much. You asked me how my week was. And I was telling you about it, and we went into friends and how my systems work and everything like that. So we can just reel it right back on in. Here. So, I have a team group chat where all of my active clients are, all the ones that want to be there, and then there's some that just don't want to participate, which is totally fine.
Totally fine.
Totally fine. Not a problem. Lots of people have really extremely busy lives. And
it's hard to travel, man.
It can be a lot.
Yeah.
Especially if you're just like getting a ton of notifications from left and right everywhere.
Yeah.
And you just
and flights are not cheap right now.
No, and I'm not even talking about like specifically for like the trip. I just mean like the group chat itself, like the big one with everyone in it. It's like some people just don't participate because they just don't want to have another thing where they're getting dinged with notifications all the time. Totally fair. Not a problem.
Yeah.
But I also do have that team call every week that I started back when I just started coaching. So I do a 2-hour Q&A session every single week on Saturday.
Hey, when you started coaching, did you get these ideas from someone, or is this all stuff you just thought of on your own and you're like, this is going to be my process from a business standpoint?
Those two ideas weren't mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually got those because in my first year of coaching, I had started working in a group under Chris Spearman, if you know who he is.
No.
He's a fitness business mogul, really, from the UK. And since then, I haven't really had much contact with him, like, at all, ever since I left. But still, good dude, really supported me. And a lot of the people that I knew from there, and actually I have a client that came from that relationship that I had within that whole coaching team and everything. Charlie Johnson, actually, who's also a really big fitness business owner from the UK and still a client to this day. He's actually about to compete in Romania. So,
I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, next weekend?
Mm-hmm.
The show Brett's doing? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you got him, and then you got the Worlds the week after that? Mm-hmm. 2 guys in that? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. But anyway, back to the reason why I'm bringing this up. I got those 2 ideas from being in that coaching system. And I did that while I was in college. It was the winter break going into my last semester of school. And I was like really hard up for money. And I was like trying to decide at that point, like, am I going to go and try to do like physical therapy school?
Yeah, that was when you were doing like, what do you want to call it? What were you doing? I can't think of the word. I'm sorry.
I don't know where you're going.
After you graduated, what were you doing with the, was it physical therapy people, or was it athletic training? Were you doing athletic training somewhere?
I was doing an internship.
An internship, yes.
Yeah, there was an internship. That was in the last semester of my senior year.
Okay.
So it was right before that I had started this, because I was trying to decide what I was going to do. And I knew that I needed to start like putting my foot in the door with coaching a little bit more. I had already by that time coached a handful of people and had a couple guys that were living with me in college that I mentored with everything. Like they lived with me, and I made it like bodybuilding camp for them. And so during that time, they made fantastic progress and they learned a lot and everything. And since then, both of the guys that I really mentored hard, like, have come in and out of coaching, and they're both doing their own thing right now. One of them is a coach himself. But I got those 2 ideas for the calls and the group chat from doing the work that I did in the business for Chris Spearman, because they had multiple different group chats. And they had like group communications with people, and they also had the team calls, which they did every Sunday, which were like more presentation based rather than like Q&A.
How many people would be in those? A lot?
A fair bit, yeah. It would depend, because it was like a really long time block that we had presentations for. So there was a bunch of coaches.
So they're like teaching you stuff, like actual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there were like ready-made presentations, and us as coaches had to prepare presentations, and it would go on a rotation. So it wasn't like every week you had to present something,
Yeah.
but it would go on a rotation throughout the months.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but over time, it ended up becoming I was doing more and more of the presentations because I would always be sitting in on them all, and I would have my own. But because people kind of caught on, the other coaches, they kind of, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so they would kind of, and it became a little bit of a problem in some way, because it would happen where there would be a presentation that would kind of get handed off to me, because I would raise my hand and be like, let's dive into this piece a little bit more than this one, and like clarify this a little bit so there's takeaways, and like just kind of pull things in. And after I did that once or twice just to try and add something, it
became yours.
It ended up becoming more and more me that was doing it, which wasn't really a problem for me because I enjoyed doing that.
Yeah.
But that's where I got the idea from, bottom line, is that they did that type of stuff. And
So that was the norm to you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So that was just already something that I would do with my time on a day of the weekend, and sit down and do presentations and sit in on meetings and stuff like that.
See, you know what's cool is like, and I didn't even realize this. I'm realizing it now. Well, not now, but a little. I'm going to tell you this now. I've never told you this.
Okay.
Is you grew up with that being the norm for you. It's like we grew up in two totally different generations.
Yeah.
So like bodybuilding coaching for me was just like send your updates once a week. You get one sentence back. Here's your changes. See it. Talk to you next week. And like, not that I've ever done that to that extent. I've always been way more involved than that. But like living with you and then seeing what you do, and you do your call every Saturday, I'm like, wow. And like that's the norm to you.
Yeah.
So it forced me to just do more.
Yeah.
You know, and that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I never once thought like, oh, this young kid like doesn't know what he's doing. I thought I better adapt, or I'm gonna just be a dinosaur. I don't want to be a dinosaur that gets blown past.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, you know, you saved me from ever having that mindset of like being the old guy that doesn't want to change. Well, back in my day, you know, like I'm not going to be that guy.
Yeah.
You know, thank God. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. But yeah, I grew up into this with the environment that was built around social media, where there's a million people doing this, and how are you going to differentiate yourself? And it's not just you personally or what you know or how you present it necessarily in social settings. It's like, how do you actually conduct business? And it almost like we can go into this, because it's become like a very slippery slope issue in coaching now, where it's always chasing down the next bigger deliverable. Always. It's like you always build, the way to say this, you always have to over deliver the service. Always. Because that's how you differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
You over deliver. And when you have your initial services listed off, it's not just, hey, here's coaching. That's it. It's like, no, you have like a listing of 17 things that you do, and like half of them are things that no one else does.
Yeah.
Because then people will look at it and be like, wow, this is what I get for this much?
Well, what's the
there's all these
standard?
other
You see the graphic people make on Instagram. It's like, hey, now offering coaching. It's all it says is this: custom diet, supplementation, training, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Which, you know,
It's like, well, no shit. I hope you're doing that.
yeah, which is the no-brainer. It's like, that's what you should be doing at the bare minimum. And I'm not saying that necessarily doing like a ton of extra stuff is necessary, which is
Right.
why I'm saying it's like a slippery slope issue.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a good thing for coaching, because it's taking away and I'm always trying to find another way to go way above and beyond all the time. And even though that has led me into a position like having a team of guys that are loyal to the death, would go to war for me if I asked them to.
Yeah.
It's given me that, which I'm extremely grateful for, but at the same time, it comes at a cost. It does come at a cost.
Yeah.
Personally, to me, it does make things difficult, because if you're trying to scale a business off of purely coaching, becomes really hard for you to continue to scale things up when your time spend on each athlete becomes extremely high because you're uncompromising on all of the things that you're going to do for them, and it always rises because you get more and more personal investment with them over time.
Yeah.
And so, and that's one side of it, but the other side of it is just every single next step as we go into things being more ubiquitous and services becoming more visible between people because of social media and the instantaneous marketing that everyone can do. It becomes like, how many things can you do over and above what the normal is, and that's what gets you people in. Not necessarily the people that are going to be already invested in you because they actually value truly what you do, but people that'll window shop. And honestly, there's more people that are just going to be internet window shoppers than there are people that are going to actually look at you as the person you are, try to connect with what you're saying, find something within themselves that relates, and just watch.
Yeah.
And
those are the
watch.
people that message you and they're like, hey, what are your rates? And that's all they say.
Exactly. Yeah. There's way more of those than there are the people
Yes.
that you could actually, like, when you get a DM from them and they're actually interested and you can have like a human conversation with, be like, hey, like, sick, like, you're cool. Like, what, can we do this?
Because they've already been watching us.
Yeah.
Those people that I get paragraphs from people that they've already chosen me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's almost like they're asking me to accept them versus them,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it, as part of like the business thing, it's like you kind of have to have some of those people that are a little bit lower need of proof for investment personally, but they're looking for more services and deliverables.
My biggest fear as a coach is to offer someone services and then they be disappointed. Mm-hmm. That would crush me.
Me too.
Yeah.
Which is part of why I over deliver and push and push and push to do more all the time.
Yeah.
And it's uncompromising because once there's another step forward that I've done more, it's like, well, I can't just do this for one person or two people or three. I'm going to do it for everybody. And then it's like crazy.
Yeah. But some people, do all your people like that though? Because I can tell, like, I can feel people out pretty quick. That's a gift of mine, and I can tell if there's a window where like that is open where I can get more personal with them, I will. But I'm not going to if I feel like they just like directions and it's just fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I can feel that too from people.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of people that I do have that don't really look for that personal thing. They're just like, just here's what it is. Here's where I'm at this week. This is all my feedback.
Yeah.
And let's just move from here. Which is cool by me. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah.
So that's not an issue, and you can figure that out as you go. But I have more people that are like actually interested in having the personal connection than I do that don't.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So, and I think it's a self-selection process too, especially because of how detail-oriented I am and I present myself to be, and then just how personable you present yourself to be. It becomes the people that self-select into the services already that are more like that.
That's why they're choosing us.
Yeah, but then we do also have those window shoppers, which will tie it right back again to the deliverables of the call and then the group chat.
Yeah. So you had your gathering.
Other things about my week.
Anything bad happen? That'll be an ongoing theme for the show. What happened to you this week? Let's see if we can get a gradual improvement.
Yeah.
Hey, you're thinking about it. You can't think of anything. That's good.
No, it's been pretty good this week.
It's because your vibe has been good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, things have been better. So I got the car situation fixed. Like, nobody's going to know what that means. I had the people that would follow my stories would know that I've had a Corvette for a while. I've had it since, I bought it in May. And it got really messed up with the paperwork because the dealership I was working with is from out of state in Arizona, and they messed everything up that you could possibly imagine.
Shout out to Auto Nation.
Oh my god. It was a nightmare. Like I put just shy of $20,000 down for the car. And of course they were attentive up until that point.
Yes, and then
Yep. So they got that money, and then it took 2 months for them to put my car on a transport to get to me.
Yeah.
2 months. Ridiculous. So I had already done all the paperwork. It was all set, and And then it took that long to get it. And then after that point, once I had it, everything was good. But I was on a temporary tag for 90 days because Arizona will give a 90-day temp for new car buys. And so I got the temp, and then that ended up running out. And the paperwork got messed up where they had written down on the paperwork that I bought the car in cash. I didn't. I put the money down in cash, as you would. But they wrote it down that way, and so technically I would be the recipient of the title.
Yes.
Okay, so
which would be great.
Yeah, fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but that's not the case because
No.
I had a lien holder, and the lien holder was also a mess. So because there was a problem with how they did the paperwork, my title got missing. It disappeared. How? Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
But it disappeared, and so I had to work with multiple DMVs. So it was Florida DMV, the Arizona DMV, and then I had to settle things with New York DMV as well because I was getting rid of my Jeep to trade in for a truck because I had to because Kat totaled her car and I needed to replace a vehicle for her.
Yep.
So that was a mess, and so like it was a lot all at once. But anyway, for the Corvette issue, I didn't have a title, and for you to get licensed and registered and get the plates for a car in Florida, you have to have a promissory note at the very least from a lien holder. The promissory note if you don't have the title. The promissory note needs to have a statement that roughly, I mean, it's exact wording that they need, but roughly from my memory, it's like, we, lien holder, give express permission to car owner to license, register, and plate this vehicle in the state of Florida, and we hold an electronic copy of the title that allows them to do so. Roughly. I messed that up, but either way, it's to that effect. So really the major key to that is that they have a statement in there that they have an electronic copy of the title on file.
Which, didn't Dom bring that up when you asked him about it? Was that Dom?
He brought it up, but it was something I kind of already was aware of.
Yeah.
Like he was bringing up just a way for me to try and get it in another means.
Yeah.
So I didn't end up having to do what he was telling me to do anyway. It was just kind of like I had to just dig my heels in with them and be like, hey, like you need to fix this. And I ended up going all the way up the chain from the highest level of financial office and all with them, where they were just passing the buck back and forth. So I had to go all the way to the GM of the dealership.
So she did end up helping you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She was the only person that could.
She wasn't. Yeah.
Well, she was trying.
She was
trying, but because of my lien holder being such a monstrosity of a mess of a company, I'm not going to say who it is, but they would refuse to do any sort of communications on behalf of one of their customers to go back and forth for documentation with the dealership that the person got the car from. And so I needed them to, because there were communications that needed to be had so that the documents could be sent back and forth directly between them, because I couldn't get them. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do it. I needed the people within those two businesses to do it. And so I had to go back and forth with both of them and get from the lien holder, you need this document, and this document, and you need to get that from them. Go to them. It's we don't know what those are, but you need this document, and this document, and you need to get that from them. It's okay. So, and then same thing with the DMV. It's what can you guys do to help me? I need to get this fixed.
Yeah, good luck, DMV. They care.
Well, actually, luckily enough, the DMV
you
office.
Get someone that cared.
Yeah, the whole of this DMV office, local to me.
Local.
Yeah, local to me in my town.
Yes.
Was very good, and they really did help, but they were kind of we've explored all the options, man. We can't do any more than this. We would love to help, but we legally need this, and it was that statement from the lien holder for them to actually give me the plates. So couldn't be done legally because they would be liable. So there was nothing they could do, but the lien holder wouldn't actually do anything, and they were impossible to deal with. So I needed the GM.
Were you seeing the DMV people here in person or calling them?
In person.
Well, that probably helped.
In person. And so I needed the GM to go and be the liaison to go and contact people within the lien holder company so that they could coordinate what actually needed to happen and find this out.
Yeah.
And so by that time, my temp was already expired, and there was nothing I could do about it. I was sitting in limbo.
Yeah.
And so I was driving my car illegally for 120 days-ish. If I got pulled over, I was going to get slapped with a felony.
Yeah.
And there was nothing I could do. Like, I had a folder of all the documentation with me at all times, just in case I did get pulled over. And I'm like, hey, man, like, I know this looks bad, but this is legit. I have, like, 80 pieces of paperwork here.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing I could do, man. Like,
Do you remember when I got pulled over? And I almost, and he told me he was going to take me to jail.
Yep.
Because I was going 97 and my thing was expired. And then I called you.
Yeah.
And you were like, I have your license plate here at the apartment. And I'm like, I told the guy, like, dude, I haven't got my plate set. It's not my fault. And he said, that sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. And he's like, you're going 97. Your plates are expired and you don't have a Florida license. And I was like, sick.
Yeah, so me trying to avoid a scenario like that, I was like, okay, I need all of this documentation so that I can just be like, hey, dude, like, if you hear me out for 1 minute, like, here's the folder with all of it. Like, I'm telling you, I can't help this.
But you didn't get pulled over?
No, I never did. And I had...
Because you weren't going 97 like an idiot like me.
No.
Yeah.
No. And it was tempting to because...
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've got some extra aftermarket parts on it and everything I put in it that makes it go super fast.
Yeah.
So I had to drive like a grandma for a while.
Yeah.
But
you got it.
Yeah, I got it. It got all taken care of.
Your plates.
I got it all taken care of. That's all done. So that was a big stressor for me for a long time. And so, like, that's taken care of now. And then just a handful of other things that were just messy issues, just personal stuff.
But this week was good.
This week was pretty good. Yeah.
How about that, huh?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
That's my goal for you. Change your vibration.
Yeah, really overall this week was pretty good. I really haven't had anything go wrong.
Speaking of cars, is your week done? Can I talk about mine?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, so my week, man, here's the thing that I want to talk to you about this week. And this is the beauty of us doing this, is it's forcing us to do it, and there's the difference is we're doing it on camera now, is like, you know, I can't go into details, obviously, as you know, but like, it's been a bit of a down week for me. And even as enlightened as I am, this was my first like week where I was just kind of like down.
Okay.
Just because I had a lot of things weighing on me, just from the stuff that, you know, that has been going on.
Yeah.
And speaking of cars, like, you know, I told the guy, I did decide yesterday, like, I'm not gonna buy that car.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's final.
Okay.
And I told him, and it's just kind of sad, you know. And that was my dream car. And I just thought about where I was in my life, where I'm at now, and recent events, and it just didn't make sense. And it was just giving me anxiety, like thinking about having that payment, and you know, I just couldn't do it. And so I made even though it's a car that I had built for me, and like, dude, the whole thing, you know, it's the last year they're making them, and dude, I really wanted that car, man. That's the car I've wanted like not my whole life, because they just started making them in 2016, but like since 2016, it's like, if I can get that car, I made it. But also I'm thinking like, well, it's kind of cool that I'm able to just be like, no, it doesn't make sense. That'd be irresponsible right now.
Yeah.
That I'm making that choice, you know, that it's like, it's just a material item, and at the end of the day, my car I have now is still sick and I love it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's okay, but you know, it just is. But I did notice this was my first week in a long time that I've just been kind of like, I don't know, just kind of off. So sitting here talking with you is getting me out of that funk. Talking to your team got me out of that funk.
They have a way of doing that.
Yeah, it just goes to show, like, the worst thing you can do as a reminder for people that struggle with getting in mental funks is the worst thing you can do is lock yourself in your apartment and isolate yourself.
Yeah.
even though that's what I wanted to do. You know, I didn't really want to come over here tonight. I didn't want to even last night. I didn't want to get up and go to Culver's. I fell asleep and I woke up. Travis messaged me and I thought about just not saying anything back, but it's like, no, just go. And I went, and then I came over to the house and I talked with you guys, and it really pulled me out of it. And you know, I guess that's really what I wanted to say about my week is even though, you know, I do have my shit together and I do consider myself to be an enlightened human being, whatever that may mean, you still have weeks where you struggle, and it's you have things that weigh on you, because I'm still a human being. As much as I would like things to not weigh on me, and I'd like to be indestructible, I'm not. It reminded me. Things bother me, and you know, it just goes the importance of it just having good friends and people to talk to, and you can't isolate yourself. I think for anybody that's depressed, like, you have to make yourself uncomfortable, because as much as you just want to sleep and not get off the couch or out of bed or whatever, you just have to just do it. And I'm just lucky enough that I have people that are gonna bother me nonstop. Like, I don't really have the luxury of being able to do that anymore, because the old me, you know, people wouldn't have noticed. But now it's like, you know, if you don't hear from me from a day, or if, you know, Tavish is here, if he doesn't, I mean, you guys aren't gonna let that happen. So, you know, you even got on me a little bit about eating better, and I have. Good. So I've been eating better, and you know, this week I do want to make it. Oh, I hurt my shoulder. That's my cat was working on. Yeah. I didn't even tell you. No. I think I fucked my supraspinatus. First rep of lying Y raises with the cuffs. Yeah. I did. I felt it, and now I can barely move. Well, it's much better since cat worked on me. Look at that. Yeah, but like, I couldn't even like move my arm, dude. It's just that you can find it right where it's getting pinched. I can feel it. So she worked on, right before coming over here, my subscap and my trap and my lat and my pec a bit, and it feels better already. So hopefully that will be okay.
Well, like we talked about, you need to actually stay on it. You need to be training.
Yeah, I need to be training. I mean, I've told you that. My shoulder, like, my body feels worse since I've stopped training. Yeah. It feels terrible.
And it's not doing good things to your mental state either.
No.
Like,
I'm doing nothing for myself.
Well, you've self-identified, rightly so, as every human being should have some kind of self-identification with actually expressing yourself through your body in some way. You kind of have foregone that because there was such an emotional attachment to the bodybuilding, which is why I brought up, like, you doing training that isn't bodybuilding related, because it's going to be continually, like, soul-crushing for you to continue to try and do bodybuilding training while you no longer do bodybuilding.
Yeah, but it's like, so it's like, that's the one thing that, I don't know, it's weird, man. Maybe you can help me figure this out, is I started training at 12 just because I love training, and then I loved training maybe until, like, I don't know, maybe when I was around 30, I just kind of was like, didn't want to do it anymore, but I still kept doing it because of bodybuilding. So because I knew that I had this goal to turn pro in bodybuilding, that's what kept me going to the gym. I never felt like going to the gym since I was in my 20s. So now that here I am and bodybuilding's over, I just don't want to do it anymore. And so, like, on average, I go maybe like twice a month is realistically how much I've been making it this year. And I just don't know how to get out of that rut, because I just don't feel like going, so I don't. Because I knew I was going to compete at some point, I'm like, I gotta go. So I would, like, muster up the energy to make myself go do it. So that's the dilemma I'm in.
Well, answer this then. Do you have lifestyle clients?
Yeah.
What would you tell one of them in this exact same situation?
I would say remove your feelings from your actions.
Okay. Consider all of the information. If you were looking at,
I would say I know it's best for my mind, my body, just for my overall general health to do it.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to go further. Knowing everything about yourself. Imagine this. You have had yourself as a client for the last 5 years, say. Okay? Right?
Yep.
With me? So you've been coaching yourself for 5 years.
Yep.
And you know everything that has happened between 5 years ago to start with up to now in this year. What would you tell somebody that isn't you in exactly the same scenario you're currently in? And try to tell it to me in the exact same intonation you would have in the conversation you would have with that person if you were on the phone?
I would say it would probably be really challenging because that was your entire structure of your life, and maybe to end that this abruptly to be gone, like you're going to feel extremely lost. And that's the one thing that you're always going to have that's consistent that you can do for yourself. And then me knowing myself, it's like that 1 hour that I can have, because we're always, filling other people's cups. It's like that's the 1 hour that I have to just tune out the world and put my headphones on and just fucking go to work, because like I need that feeling of that adrenaline rush and like to push myself. And there's the structure of that and the discipline it requires to maintain order in my life.
Is that really how you feel?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Good. So now, thinking back on your original answer, would you tell yourself to pull the emotion out of it?
No, because that's kind of emotionally driven.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You can't divorce your emotion from it, because it's going to continue to push you to do the same things that you're doing right now.
Right. Yeah, because you're right. If I remove my emotion from it, I'm like, there's no reason for me to do it.
Exactly. Because you're going to go into your pragmatist mind, which right now in the phase of your life you're in, you're thinking so much more about continuously filling everyone else's cup. And while you're doing that, you're also taking the extra time that you now have to go and find new ways to better fill everyone else's cup.
Yeah.
That's what you're spending all of your time doing. All of your free time that you've now gained is now being spent learning how to go and fill everyone else's cup better and fuller than you did before. And you going and training, you are now viewing it as you now draining more out of your cup, rather than you saying it the way that you did, like it's the time for you to refill yours. You've been viewing it the opposite way.
Yeah. All right. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
I couldn't make sense of that.
Yeah.
But that makes sense.
Yeah. You viewing it that way is stopping you from making the change that you need to, because you should be, and that's why I'm suggesting that you do some training that's not bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Because it's going to hurt you emotionally, which is why you're having a hard time getting back into it, or at least from my estimation. My understanding of you is that you're having a hard time actually getting yourself to train because it was for the purpose of bodybuilding that you were doing it. And you do it for bodybuilding purposes.
Yeah.
You're doing the training now still for bodybuilding purposes while you're no longer bodybuilding. So there's an incongruence there between what you're doing and then the stated goal of it and what your real purpose on the day is.
Yeah.
So, and your purpose right now is not that. You're not trying to compete. You're not trying to go and achieve anything really with your training either. You're not trying to achieve anything. You're just trying to get yourself to enjoy that time where you're expressing your body in a way that makes you feel good. That's what your goal should be.
So I need to just view it as that, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for you, and maybe at one point or another you'll come back to more bodybuilding style training, because it's something that you did enjoy at one point in time, and it wasn't originally for competing.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I just wanted to have more. I just wanted to look better.
Yeah, you wanted to look better, and you didn't decide that you wanted to look better and then go do, I don't know, some shake weight workout or whatever the hell was going on in your day. Like some random thing that you could pick up from the store.
Taibo.
There you go.
Yeah.
You weren't doing Taibo.
Yeah.
You decided that you were going to do bodybuilding because you enjoyed it. You liked the training. You wouldn't have done the whole thing in the first place if you didn't.
Yeah.
So it's still there in you. It's just been denatured over time because it became something that you had to force yourself to do, because you self-identified yourself as a bodybuilder and you created a life path through it, and you couldn't abandon that because it meant you abandoning everything you were. And now that you're at a point in your life that that part of it is done,
Yeah.
you're now conflicting with yourself every time you're going to decide to go train.
Yeah, because I'm like, my self-worth isn't dependent on how I look anymore.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I don't care. But I should care, because in regards to just taking care of yourself, that does matter. Because for me to show up for other people and help them the best I can, I need to be fresh, and I need to love myself and care about myself and take care of myself and be healthy.
Yes. So you need to get in. It's not that you're to blame, really, because this is what happens to everybody. It's like the purpose and the why.
I'm just in this weird spot.
Yeah, you're still in, as much as you've kind of now attached yourself to being like a different type of you, which you are, you haven't lost everything or stepped forward away from everything that you were. You're never going to.
Yeah.
Because it's all still you, right?
Yeah.
So like the new version of you that you're trying to create, and a lot of things that have changed for you, there's still going to be parts of you that have been so deeply ingrained into your thought processes for so long that you're still going to have to take more time to really feel them out.
Yeah.
Work through them.
My yogi is coming here. My yogi is going to come here next month and teach me that we're trading services. So he's a bodybuilder. Well, he doesn't compete, but he trains. So he calls himself a bodybuilder. So he does live the life. He lives the life of a bodybuilder. So I'm going to coach him, and then he's going to coach me. So I will start doing yoga. I think that'll be helpful for me.
Yep.
Especially not just like, I guess he'd refer to it as like pop yoga. Like going to a yoga studio, like that's not real yoga. Like he's going to teach me real yoga. He's like a legitimate yogi. So I think that's going to help. And then I think I just have to make the decision to just do it. But that helped me, just thinking about it differently.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, I think we should talk about like some specific training and bodybuilding stuff before people stop listening.
Yeah.
Or maybe before maybe nobody's listening. But in case anybody does listen that wants to hear about bodybuilding, I have one question for you that I want you to cover this one time, and then you never have to talk about it again. And then anytime someone asks you this question, you just send them this link and say, go to however many minutes we're into this, 37 minutes, 80, 40 minutes, whatever.
Oh,
okay?
we're definitely further than that.
Really? Okay, so Nick, what is the best training split? Answer this one time and then you're done forever. What is the best training split? How do you answer that? Let's talk about a training split. How we go about that?
Okay, this is why you didn't tell me what we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just get it over with. And then, I mean, that's going to lead us into a lot of other things regarding training. But I wanted to talk about training because most people watching this are going to want to hear you talk about training.
Okay, so short answer, there is no best training split.
Correct. Let me tell you what. When someone asks me that, when I get a new client, I ask them, "Is there certain days that you need off?" Because some people do need that. Some people need. I have to have weekends off to spend with my family. All right, cool. I'm going to design something based on your weaknesses and Monday through Friday. So I kind of start there. Is that what you do too?
Yeah, I always look to begin with where they are developmentally. And then before I make any sort of decision beyond that, I just take stock of where they are, what they're going to need, and I get some information on what their strong points are for movements, because movement preferences and how good they are with them and how well they scale it fits into the way that the program is going to work, really regardless of what the split is going to look like. So that gives me some information for what I have to look at, what needs to be prioritized the most, what can be deprioritized that will be able to be put in later, that will just continue to come up no matter what we do with it, right? So there's going to be areas that will need more emphasis than others, no matter what stage you're in, aside from being a complete rank beginner, and then it's just carte blanche, everything needs to be hit.
Yeah.
Right. But then before making any sort of decision on how the split is going to look, I find out what their occupation is,
Yep.
what kind of hours they're going to be spending in the gym, what they have available for that, what their life commitments are like family and other already set obligations that can't be negotiated, and then figure out what is going to work for them based off of preference as well. So based off of their occupation is a big one, and then what their family obligations more than anything else is. So that's going to be different if you have somebody with the exact same physique for all consideration here. Same physique, same things that need to be brought up, same developmental stage. Occupation's different. Split's going to look different.
Yep.
And the split being different for each one of them is going to get the closest that they can to the best split that they could have. One way or another, you're going to have to modulate all the parameters that you still have left to work with so that you can get them the best possible program that they could have. So whether or not that's the one that would ideally make everything work perfectly is a question that honestly, that's why the question annoys me to answer.
Yeah.
Because it's we're always trying to find that theoretical 100% best, right? But what would you need for the theoretical 100% best to actually be realized? You would need to have somebody that just
does nothing but eat, sleep, and train.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Does absolutely nothing but this to optimize every single piece of it. And then you could make the best split ever.
Yeah.
And there would be no questions. It would be 100% of everything you could ever do is going to be covered. And you're going to make the best progress you could ever make, ever.
Yeah.
Uncontestable.
Yeah.
But that's not the reality. So trying to find this theoretical 100% with how you build a program is just a fool's game.
Yep.
Because you're just going to be able to work with what they can actually do 100%. And given what their circumstances are in the real life that you can't change, no matter how much you want to have them change, you're going to be working with the 100% that they're capable of.
Yeah. And you can apply that to everything. So nutrition, same thing. There's parameters that we're working in. Drugs, same thing. I mean, we're working within, then that's what customization is, to our point where people are advertising, customize this, customize that, and it's like, they're saying that, but that's not what they're really doing, but that's what we should be doing, because we're working within parameters that the client sets for us, and then we're creating a system that is going to be closest to 100% for them within each of the components that make up the importance of doing bodybuilding.
Yes. Yeah. So we have a list of parameters and considerations that need to be taken in, and then we just build the best that we can with that.
Yeah.
That's also part of the reason why I'm reluctant to do like single one-off written programs for people, because
Yeah, I won't either. I don't do it.
It's tough. Like I've tried it a couple of times, and I mean, people still appreciate it and they get what they need out of it, because giving them something that's going to be better than what other people are going to give them is
That's
still
true.
valuable.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a mindset change that I've had more recently,
Yeah.
because I'm such a purist in like every way
Yeah.
that it's just hard for me to do that.
Yeah.
But
Because you can
also-
give someone, especially for you with training, dude, like you can give someone a program, but you understand, which is what I want to go into next, is people are always like, hey, I need to bring up this body part, and you only have me do it once a week or twice a week. Is that enough? And I'm like, well, let me see how you execute first.
yes.
Because that's the importance of it. If a body part isn't growing, it's usually an execution issue. It's not a frequency issue. So for you especially, to just write a program and give it to someone and just hope that they do everything right when you know they're not doing anything right probably is got to be tough.
Yes. Yeah. And then to give a one-off program that they're going to run with, it's going to get them closer than what another one-off program by somebody that hasn't considered where they're at and what they need
Yeah, that's true.
is going to get. So
Yeah.
like that's still a one-up. That's still good.
Yeah.
But to the point of customization is that you can't fully customize a program in the first try.
No.
So it's just not going to be the case. Like your training is going to have to be a living documentation of what's happening at all times.
Yep.
So you're not going to hit it nail on the head to begin with. That's the biggest reason why I have been reluctant to, and up until recently would never do single one-off programs for people. And every time that I have, like, okay, well, I'm going to need you to give me some feedback, and I would really, really suggest that we put you get you onto like a retainer type service with me, so that we can reserve some time, we can get on some calls to nail things down and actually do some feedback and check-in type work that's not really coaching fully. It's just taking stock of everything and how it's developing, and then watching over how they're executing all their movements and how they're executing those movements given the parameters I've given them to hit, and then figuring out what's doable, what's not, what's matching, what isn't, and then fixing all the little gaps from the base. And the base is always going to be their execution of it.
Yes.
And that's the biggest thing that, to your point, with customizing, like you can think about like what somebody's volume landmarks are going to be, which is a big topic. It's like, because everybody's so obsessed with like frequency, volume, load, and relative intensity, like RAR and RPE.
Yep.
Like they're big things. They're big variables, and you're going to play with them.
We needed standardization first. Standardization of each movement.
And the way that you have to standardize things is just creating an uncompromising quality of every single rep to begin with. Because the one singular unit of all of the work that you're going to do is one rep at a time. And if there's no standard to a single rep, then all the rest of the volume, all the rest of the frequency, everything else just goes out the window.
Yes.
Because it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game, and if you have every single rep is an unknown value of how much it's actually getting you in stimulus, and you don't know where it's targeted, you don't know really how well it's landing because the accuracy isn't there, then it's an unknown quantity. And what do you get when you start stacking on more of unknown quantity?
Junk volume.
Junk. You get junk. You don't know what's actually going to make an impact. And you just don't just throw more at it to try and make more happen.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that everything is standard from the beginning and then figure it out from there. And that's one of the biggest things that I end up coming across with people that come to me is that it doesn't often happen where they're like, it happens somewhat frequently. That they'll see a program and they'll be like, this doesn't seem like it's all that much total volume. It's like, right.
Let's tell people what we mean by standardizing real quick, because people are going to not know what that means.
Okay.
So I think when I think standardization, I'm thinking tempo, the amount of lengthening, and then the amount of shortening. So how hard you're contracting. So I'm sure you're going to expand way more upon that, so go for it.
I don't have to expand way too far because honestly, it can be encapsulated very easily.
Okay.
It's, can you make every single rep look and feel exactly the same?
Yeah.
Can you or can you not? And then within the parameters that you've set for it is going to be specific to whatever movement it is and whatever body part it is and how compound it is or not, or how isolated. So depending on the goal of it, what you're going to use it for, what that movement is best to do, what it's best suited for you to do with it, is going to determine how that gets standardized based off of the parameters you're working with. But if the base of standardization is just the definition, make it look exactly the same every time. Make it feel exactly the same.
And you mentioned the parameters. That's another thing. Parameters within each individual. If we're talking like deep customization. So let's take me for instance. So like if I'm bicep preacher curling, and I've done this with you.
Yeah.
Or any type of bicep curling.
Yep.
Since I've ruptured both bicep tendons in the distal portion, I don't feel comfortable fully lengthening. So I like to just work in a more shortened range. So working in within parameters, you take that into consideration.
Yeah.
Even though it's technically wrong.
That one's a little bit more, like that specific example is a little bit murkier because there is a risk involved with getting your arm fully straight depending on what the angle of force is going to be applied to the hand.
Yeah.
So it's going to be likely to be more injurious depending on what the actual angle of force is acting on with a straightened arm.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a murky example, but your point still stands.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're still going to take into account what it actually looks like, what the person can do. Like a squat for one person is not going to look like a squat for another person.
Yeah.
But you can take it from a spectrum of complexity being the highest of being like a barbell squat in free space. That's going to be the most different from person to person because it's going to be dependent on exactly all of the mobility and control that they have through every single joint that's involved and how they set it all up, whether or not they have a good understanding of what it's supposed to look like or how it's supposed to feel, and how the skill has been developed, whether certain parts of it have been developed wrong over the years or better in some different ways, whether they've built in a lot of compensations that shouldn't have been there based off of initial cueing or things that they've adapted to from previous injuries or ouchies.
Yeah.
And things over time, or just preconceived notions about it that really were unnecessary to be there in the first place. So like chasing down an optimal that is just theoretical, that doesn't necessarily match them because it was a talking point that somebody made at one point or another that was just misguided or just mismatched as the person. So like there's a lot of pieces to that, but again, this is why it's like the question at the base of it, like what is the best split, is such a big question. That's why I tip my head back. I'm like, oh my God, like, because it could be talked about forever because every single piece of everything within the human system is going to be part of it. But you could get all the way down into the weeds as far as you want to go, but you don't necessarily have to either, which is part of the discernment issue, because there's a discernment issue in how you're going to approach this. It's like, what aspects of it do you really need to go that deep with and what do you not? Because at the end of the day, every human being is a human being.
Yep.
We're working with the same tools.
Yep.
So in the gym, it's the same tools and we're working with the same bodies. They're just different in how they're built in some ways, and how they've been abused or used over the years is going to determine exactly how those things are going to line up on the gym floor.
Yeah, you're saying, I mean, I tell people this all the time. What I've gotten really good at is I've been doing this long enough now that I just know what matters and what doesn't matter. And there's people that just get lost in the weeds, just worrying about shit that doesn't matter for years.
But the key is to know all that stuff in the first place.
Yeah.
So you can't have discernment if you don't actually know.
Right.
So that's kind of the paralysis by analysis thing, and that's kind of what the over-informed, under-socialized type deal is. It's like over-informed and not enough ideas put in check.
Yeah.
Is a problem, because you can go into the deepest depths of all of the parameters to try and find, like, you can find 1,000 studies to go and validate any sort of method that you're going to do, and then another group of studies that are going to tell you you're completely ass backwards.
Yeah.
And then you could make an entire programming style that is going to be built off of one idea, and then another one that's going to be off of another idea, but when you put them into practice, they both have roughly the same result, and that result may not even be statistically significant in a way that's going to be meaningful, or like you could cut it in so many different ways. And those kinds of answers coming from those kinds of sources don't really give you answers to work with.
Right.
So it has to come from discernment of what you actually see is doable, what's reasonable, what's going to work for this person given all of the things that they're coming to you with. And then with all of those intricate details being taken account for, what's it boil down to? This is a human being sitting in front of me. We're working with the same implements. We roughly have similar tolerances to stresses. We have X amount of time to input those stresses. Those times may be split across a week or 2 weeks or however you want to set up a block in slightly different ways. Then they're going to have body parts or patterns that are going to need more attention and more need to standardize so that they're more accurate. That will inform other decisions on how you manipulate their tempo and their volume and the frequency of specific things, and it just self-emerges from there, just having the understanding that it's a human being. We're dealing with the same systems. So customization is something that has been completely and utterly bastardized to the nth degree, and it annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah, people are confusing customization with randomness.
Yeah, it's novelty.
Almost.
Yeah, it's novelty. So you don't need to have something completely different for every person. Yeah. And that's part of, like, that's a misconception that has been built. Again, we could tie it back to something we talked about in the start of the show, is that it's a never-ending chase within coaching to try and have an over-the-top deliverable. And part of it is the customization of coaching. It's like everything needs to be so different to this one person that if you had one client and another client that had a conversation with each other, it's like, wow, you're doing a lot of the same stuff as me. It's like, what the hell is my coach doing?
Yeah.
Like, we're two different people. The things should be totally different. It's like, you're both human beings, roughly probably in a similar boat. We're all humans that have a job, that are doing things, that are living lives, that have the same amount of hours of the day that we're able to sleep. And like all of the things that we control for in bodybuilding as well. It's like we're not dealing with so many factors that it's completely untenable. Like, it's not so haphazard that it's just everyone has to do something completely off the wall different. Like, we're dealing with the same systems.
Yeah, and so this ties into what we were just talking about earlier, is that's why we get, personal with our people, because if we're personal with our people, then what really matters? Execution throughout the week.
Yep.
And if they're comfortable telling us what they did and did not do, then we know if we actually need to change something or not change something. And that is really what customization is.
And having the right time to do it.
Yeah.
That's the other problem. It's part of the novelty aspect and having a deliverable, is that, every week, because you have a check-in every week, there's going to need to be another change?
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not the value of coaching. The value of coaching is not how many times can you make a change to make this more novel.
Yeah.
It's not how many times you need to adjust this, because there's an over complexity bias that has come from, again, this never-ending rat race that continues to push things in this direction. It's like the more, and I especially see it because I'm more in like the new age smart bodybuilders type deal. Like, I'm in that scope of people, and so it breeds this, like, there's always another level of complexity. There's always another level of detail, and everyone's so different, and every single aspect of everything needs to be accounted for. It's like, to a degree, you need to understand everything to the point that you can make discernment on the decisions you're going to make for the person, but really you're dealing with the same things. So the customization aspect has to come after actual emergent needs.
Yeah.
The emergent needs emerge to you, and you make those decisions as they come based off of the data that you have to work with. And that's just it. Like, that's how customization is supposed to work. It's not just throwing new stuff to see if it's going to stick and be better than it was before.
Yeah, and give it 1 week to work.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you make another change next week because this
it's
person,
a new week.
Yeah, it's a new week, and this person obviously has made some sort of change biologically that's going to make this land better.
Yeah.
Like, no, part of the value of having somebody that actually cares enough to be like actually customizing things and matching it to the person is knowing that, okay, we tweaked it in every which way that emerged to us that we needed it to. Now you're good.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Yeah, let's see what happens now. Let's execute and bang it out, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, because the goal is never to be to always have another next step that you need to change things. Those things will emerge over time based off of needs. So you don't need to always be changing it. The goal is to get it to a place where it'll just run itself.
Yep.
And the value is not in continuing to make changes from that point. The value is in you building in the time to get to that point that it will run itself for a good period of time. You're not going to be measured off of your success by just making more further changes. You need to make the minimal number of changes possible that are going to get you the closest accuracy that you can get there. It's like sitting in an optometrist chair and you've got the dial things that you can see. It's like, does it do you any good if you have your optometrist go like, is A or B better? Okay, cool. Like, A or B is totally different. And then it keeps getting like more and more options, right, to clear it down. Does it make any sense that if you go through A and B, and then by the time you have like 12 letters of the alphabet, and you've already ruled out A, and then all the ones that are similar to A, that you just toss in the mix another question of, oh, is A good now? No, it wasn't. The whole point is not so you can just keep on spinning this wheel of going, oh, maybe is this good now? Maybe is this good now?
Yeah.
No. It's so you can make finer and finer tuned decisions based off of the initial setup that you made, so you can finally get it to a
How
place.
long have we been going?
An hour and a half.
All right. Let's start wrapping it up. Keep going.
So we can finally get it to a place where it doesn't have to be continuously changed to a great degree. And then over time, it should be smaller and smaller and smaller changes. And then eventually, it should stay that way. And there will be a minimal number of things that need to change from that point. Because hopefully, you've done your job diligently enough that you set up the perfect split that is close enough to the 100% that you shouldn't want to change it.
Yeah.
You get it that close, why do you want to change something that's going to be good?
Correct.
Doing more doesn't necessarily give you more.
Correct.
So you find a good formula, you don't mess with it any further. And if your formula is similar to someone else's formula, cool.
Yeah.
If it's not, and
You
it's
keep
totally
it the same
different,
until
cool.
until there's a need to change something. It's really that simple.
And that's the value of it.
Yeah.
The value is having it, giving you the result that you need, not that it's individual to the point that it's unrecognizable to another person.
Yeah. So there's the answer. Never ask him again. If people ever ask you this question again, just shoot them this link.
Well, we can talk a little bit more specifically on split types, because that's a question that we can go through, because we didn't really talk about that.
What do you want to say about split types?
So-
Let's cover it.
Based off of the developmental stages of the person,
Yes.
and what their strengths and weaknesses are, not so much about the time of the week that they actually have to train.
Yeah, let's assume they can train whenever. If someone says I don't need certain days off, I always number it and I never assign days. I think numbering is the way to go.
Yep. So you can make a rolling split that is just going to fall on whatever day it is, because that's ideal.
Yes.
Ideal is going to be to just set up all the things that you know that they need, and then have it fit wherever it's going to fit.
Yep.
The time frame is going to just match exactly the kind of work that you need to have them do.
Yep.
Right? So if it's somebody that's a little bit earlier in their development, giving them enough opportunities for them to hit everything, but have enough opportunities to rest that they can actually recover is key. And so maybe an upper-lower split or a push-pull legs in the really early stages.
Yeah,
And-
I did full body every day. when I first started, and it worked.
Well, yeah, there you go. And when you're early on, almost
Doesn't
anything will
matter,
work.
yeah.
No, almost anything will work when you're really early on.
Yeah.
And so that's something to talk about. But then there's a skill component to that too. It's like if you're doing full body and you're paying attention to just big patterns, or likely when you were starting it wasn't quite that. It was probably you're just bicep curls and
Yeah, I wasn't squatting. I was leg pressing. I was deadlifting. I was, and then a lot of machines, benching, obviously.
which is still
Curls, triceps.
that's good though.
Yeah.
That's good though, because this is a point that I want to make talking about splits, is that I don't necessarily agree that there's a necessary scaling of beginner to intermediate to advanced where there's a certain split type that is ideal. Like some people will say that like beginners should be on full body on like 3 days a week, or they're doing upper lower only. Like if you haven't done that yet, you got to go back to that, and then you got to graduate to push pull legs or a body part split later on. It's like not quite, because what do you have when you have a full body split or an upper lower? You're basing that off of you doing bigger patterns, right? Because you're just doing big complex patterns because they will get you more global overall growth to happen. Okay? And it's also building your skill into those big patterns, which is also helpful. But upper lower or full body is going to restrict you from doing a lot of other things, because you're going to spend a lot of that training time that you have in each single session on those bigger things, and those bigger things only, because they're going to take up a big chunk of your energy, a big chunk of your performance real estate and your recovery real estate to work with. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's not the ideal setup. So I tend to think that if you have a little bit more like a push-pull legs type is going to be better, almost like across the board for most.
It's hard to argue that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it, and you can customize that in any sort of bias that you need to.
Yeah, but not necessarily in that order also.
No.
Push-pull. You're just saying that because that's how people recognize it.
Yeah. With sessions that are leg-based, pushing pattern-based, pulling pattern-based, but then that ends up being a break apart of what? Do you have to have the same exact split up of volume or patterns that are done on each leg day? No. Do you have to do the same thing with pressing? No. Do you have to do the same thing with pulling? No. And does that also exclude you from being able to do isolated accessories for other body parts that don't necessarily get hit by those big compounds? No. It doesn't exclude you from that. So it gives you the opportunity to especially split off these bigger patterns where in full body or upper lower, you're already expending so much of your energy with the big ones, you don't get the opportunity to spend time doing the volume on those more isolated patterns.
Correct. That
may be more impactful to specific body parts and their muscle growth. Like, you're not going to get a lot of side delt growth from doing pressing.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Like, it's just not going to work that way. Yeah. Sorry. Like, if you believe that's true, you're wrong. It's not going to work. Like, you may get some, because they're still going to be active, but is it really going to be impactful enough? No, you're not going to get like really significant side delt growth from pressing.
Correct.
It's not going to happen. So you're going to have to put those in there somewhere. If you're doing an upper lower full body, are you going to have the room to put in the adequate volume of specifically side delt stuff?
Some days, but then you're going to miss other things like arms.
There you go.
Yeah.
Your in-session performance ability, how much you have to work with, is going to be very limited by how many bigger things you're doing.
Yeah.
And so something more like a push-pull legs in whatever way you're going to set it, you have the opportunity to do big leg pattern that you chose, and then some lesser complexity patterns that give you better muscular output solely, and more isolated things that can build more muscular stimulation without having it just being everything.
Yep.
And it's not as systemically taxing that way as well. And you do that with all the other patterns, and if you set up multiple rotations, then you can also just emphasize other big patterns that have slightly different emphases that give you the opportunity to hit everything that you need to adequately, and you can fit in all those other smaller things as you need them. And if you have that many set up days that are different from one another, you can further change the emphasis on how things are going to run. And so I tend to find that even if it's not a push-pull legs technically, it's any other way that you would set it up. Having moderately differentiated setup and having more of a rolling basis works for most. And that even goes all the way up into the advanced, where the advanced typically do a little bit better with even more specialization and splitting off of body parts and days.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where this whole split up of bro split versus pro split idea came from, and it's kind of accurate.
But really, all the difference between the two is just different terminology. You're saying push, pull, legs, but bros say chest, shoulders, triceps,
exactly,
back, biceps. It's the same thing. It's just different terminology.
Yeah, and the other major difference is typically if you have a body part split, it fits on a 7-day schedule.
Yeah,
that's really the other thing, and that's only because it was started that way as a structure way back.
Yeah,
and so it just stayed with the times, and so it's become like outdated. Because there's other ways of doing rolling rotations that we do more often now. It's not a problem that you have it within a 7-day cycle, other than the fact that it is limiting.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a 7-day cycle.
No.
Yeah.
The 7-day cycle in itself is limiting you.
Yes.
And so that's really the problem that I see in that. It's not so much anything else. Because you can even, if you have multiple different days, like body part split for a more advanced person, you're going to have to customize it based off of what they already have definitely enough of, and what they definitely don't have enough of. So you can split that off a little bit more than you have a push-pull legs in a more base pattern style. Yep. So it's, again, the same thing. If you didn't want to have it restricted to a 7-day cycle, then you could just extend that further, have a rolling schedule, and then you make it a little bit more similar to a push-pull legs anyway.
Yep.
So instead of it being a push, you'll have a chest day with accessories, and you'll have a shoulder day with accessories. If you don't even need a shoulder day, it'll just be 2 chest days, so you can get a little bit more work on your chest because you need it, and then you can fill in all the rest of the stuff that you would need also with other body parts, your arms and your delts and calves and everything else where it fits within the session that you still have energy to do it with.
Yeah.
And you just build that off as the person has those emphases that are needed or not. And that's what it comes down to with their developmental age.
Let me ask you, I just thought of a question. So for you, I don't ever factor frequency into people when I first get them, because to our point we were talking about, let's say someone has a good upper body, weak legs as an example. Mm-hmm. Are you giving them multiple leg days within a 7-day period or not? Because I want to see how they're executing things first, and then if it's usually almost 10 times out of 10 they're glaringly just not everything looks like shit, so I know I probably don't need to do anything with frequency there.
I would disagree.
Okay, let me hear your side.
Yeah, because there's a skill component. Because if they already suck,
you can do it more often.
You can do it more often, and they can get better at it quicker.
Yeah.
And then it's also reducing some of the complexity of changes over time for the coach's side as well. It's if you already set them on a structure that they understand, then they're going to be more acclimated to it over time.
Yeah.
And if they're already more acclimated to it, you have multiple frequencies of it, and they're used to it, then eventually, like you're saying, if they start to get their skill up from doing those first weeks, you're going to want to progress them up anyways in some way or another, right?
True.
And so if it eventually at some point you're going to give them another day to be doing it within a cycle, you could just start with that. But if you already have some reservations on how they're doing the work they're already being given, you just lessen the amount of work that's being done so that you have, the adequate amount that they would need to get progress, but it gives you enough opportunities to see what they're doing.
Yes.
It gives them enough opportunities to build the skill in them, and then you can progress it from there with all the other parameters like volume.
Yeah.
So the frequency is not something that I would go to first as something to change, but in a setup, it's the first thing that you're going to want to look at.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's to your same point with starting it off with, you look at what days of the week they have available.
Yes.
Right? That's you looking at frequency. That is what it is. Mm-hmm. You're looking at the frequency just by looking at what they can do within a week. And then what their occupation is, and whether or not they could do a rolling schedule or it has to be restricted. That is frequency. It's just not looking at body part frequency specifically. It just comes as a natural consequence of having looked at it. Because now you're fitting in with those 7 days. All right, well, we need to do this, this, and this. We have to hit these patterns and these muscle groups. We got to roughly fit it in here so you can recover and perform properly. Right? You're already doing that.
Yeah.
So you're already doing that while not thinking you are.
That's true, yeah.
So, and if you're already trying to get them to fix stuff, giving them more opportunities to fix stuff is going to be the good route to go, rather than having them have 1 day for every 7. They're like, all right, I got to fix this now, and now is the time. If they're hitting it every couple of days, and it's just a lesser total amount of work, if you're going to give them the same amount of work on 2 separate days by splitting it as you would in one, because you want them to do all those patterns anyways, you might as well split it so that the quality of work in both of those sessions is better.
Yeah.
Because you're going to hit, the first couple movements with more energy, fresher.
Sure.
Skill is going to be better because you're fresher. You're going to be able to hit them harder. You're more mentally in it. And then you're going to fade towards the end. And if it's too much, and they're already not all that skilled with it, because this is the problem with not being skilled, is that part of the skill is being accurate, right?
Yep.
If they're not being accurate, what are they doing when they're doing your volume? They're hitting more than just the thing that you're trying to get them to hit.
Yeah.
And so that's gonna blast them harder than them being accurate a lot of the time.
Good point.
So you could split it off, give them a less opportunity for them to really screw themselves up, because you've lessened the overall amount of volume you're doing on a single day. Make it a better opportunity for them to gain the skill, because you can't really acquire skills that well when you're that fatigued. The fresher you are when you're doing a skill, the better you'll retain it. You'll be more precise, so it's going to be more quality practice. But as the nervous system is going to work and how your cognition works with new patterning, you will retain those changes to the way you execute them better if you're still fresh physically. So if you're already setting up the parameters for them to try and build these skills up so they can be more accurate and get more out of the training, give them more opportunities to do so, and make sure every opportunity is of the highest quality you can.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
And so if I'm going to take that to the ending, so I can cover this completely.
Yes.
I don't necessarily believe that somebody in a single developmental stage is going to have a one answer. But we have training structures in the way that we can write splits that are going to be endlessly customizable. But you really only do that as an emerging basis. If you have somebody that's more a beginner, you can give them a push-pull-leg style. You can give them a 7-day split of some kind. You can give them an upper-lower or a full body. But the guiding rules that you want to use are going to be what gives them the best result given their skill at the time and what they have to bring up. And if you're going to try and balance all those off, in my opinion, for just about everyone, your best route to go, if there is a best split to use, is going to be some variation of a push-pull-legs type split. Just because of how infinitely customizable you can make them. And you can hit everything you need to hit on your entire body within those 3, just based off of how well you know how to stack them.
Yep.
And how you can put them together within the exercise order, the parameters you're hitting, what emphases you're trying to hit with higher impact movements or lower impact movements, what kind of bodily positions you're going to get in and how they're going to affect all the other ones, how that's going to affect the next days and the next days. All of those things are going to come into account. And the more that you can set things apart in a split schedule that way, the easier it is for anyone to work within those parameters, because you can just bring it up and change it based off of how it's needed for the person. From beginner to intermediate to advanced, it's going to be different between them all.
Yep.
The emphases are going to be different. What they need is different. And every individual is going to be different. But pretty much the basis, you want to start with always looking at things as what fits on the bell curve the best. Okay? Bell curve is going to be the overwhelming majority of everybody will get what they need from one method. And then there's going to be outliers on either side, which may do better with one very specific thing on either end. But if you're going to go at it from one method that's going to bring you most of the way there, and then you need to tweak it, already start with something that has that ability built in.
Yep.
Push-pull-legs type splits have that built in by its nature, where 7-day body part splits are already limiting.
Yes.
Upper-lower splits are already limiting. Full body splits are already limiting. It's not really the same for push-pull-legs in that way for bodybuilding.
Yeah. And let me tell you, you converted me, and I'm as OG as it goes. Mm-hmm. But it's been based upon, that makes sense to me, hearing you say that, and me thinking about it on my own, but also seeing how much you've grown in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. Right in front of my eyes. Mm-hmm. So at first I was like, I'm not sold on it. I'll just keep trading my way. And then it's like, okay, yeah, I've seen him grow, and it makes a lot of sense, and that's what I've converted to. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And now that I've actually answered the original question,
yeah,
I think we're good on that.
I think we're good on that.
Yeah,
and
we can refer back to this whenever it's needed.
we can refer back to this. You're going to send this link a lot, probably.
Yep, and in further conversations, we can talk about specific parameters a little bit more. 'Cause
Yeah.
that was more of a cover on frequency.
Yeah, if that was frequency, we need to talk about, I don't know, how you implement intensity multipliers and things like that, and when's the right time to do that. And
Yep.
I mean, we can talk about training every episode for the rest of this.
Exactly.
That we do this.
Exactly. So we don't need to make this a one
No.
stop shop for
Yeah,
everything.
but that kind of
we do
covers
now.
everybody when they ask split, they're asking frequency.
Yep. So we covered frequency with the split.
Yeah.
We got it. We're good.
Yeah.
Topic covered.
So, and with that, that is episode 2. And we'll be back next week for episode 3. If anybody actually watches this and wants to ask us questions or wants us things to talk about, they can feel free to message us. And maybe we'll use it. Maybe we won't.
We will both be awaiting the questions from my mom and yours.
And Vadim.
Yes, in Vadim.
All right. All right. Well, thanks, buddy. I feel better.
Good.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Till next time.